folks? Sean, the average angler, and we've got, I don't know, kind of a cool one today to talk about, because I just thought about something as I was setting this up, getting ready to make the video. And basically what I want to say is this technique was scoping before there was scope. You know what I mean? So today we're going to talk about one of the great fall baits. And actually this is a great year-round bait, but it's better understood now because of scoping. But this has been a great fall bait for a long time, okay? And the more I think about it, the more it was, we were scoping without the scope, you know? Fishing for suspended fish. We just couldn't see them before. Now we can see them with the scope. If you got the scope, if you don't, you can still fish for those fish. And if you're throwing this bait, you are fishing for those fish. So let's talk about equipment for this, okay? Now, my mind thought has changed a little bit on this, but I'm going to show you or explain to you a way to do this without having necessarily the ideal rod, okay? So what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about jerk baiting, throwing jerk baits. Rip baits, jerk baits, whatever you want to call them. To me, it's a lot in how you fish it, and different times of the year you can fish it differently. Now, you'll see here I've got a spinner bait on this rod. This is not per se a jerk bait rod. It is a rod that will work. Okay, it's an Irod 733. You see the line rating there, 6 to 12. It is a medium heavy, but it's got a fast action tip, okay? It's a little stiff there. So what you can do when you're working the bait, and I found this out a long time ago, because quite honestly in the past I never really jerk baited enough to want a dedicated rod for it. Well, with the evolution of rods and all that kind of stuff, it's like I really want a dedicated rod, okay? So the next rod I'm going to get from Irod, or one of them, is going to be a Quercus 702. This is a 3 power. We're going to drop down to the 2 power. And it's also a moderate action, okay? So it's going to bend deeper into the rod. Why is that important? Well, first let me explain how to use a little heavier rod and still get away with it. Now, when fighting the fish, you're not going to be able to get away with it because it is what it is. You got the rod you got. But for working the bait, I have found I hold the rod like that, okay? My fingers in between there, my thumb up here. What I do is I just keep a real loose grip, okay? You'll see, but it's not going anywhere. It's in my hand. My fingers are wrapped around, but it's loose, okay? I can move the rod around in there. So when I jerk down, keep that loose hand. So let the rod, what it's going to do is the rod's going to rock back and forth in your hand. That's what I like to do. I'll let the rod rock back and forth as I'm jerking it, because this can overpower the bait. Now, this time of year, fall, at least here in California, our temperatures and water temperatures are still on the warmer side. So we don't really need to slow things down or be less aggressive yet. That can change in a week. Might take a month. Who knows? Here is another one you'll see. I started rigging this up all the time. This is a good old-fashioned Stacy. Probably one of the first big lip, deeper divers to come out. Lucky Craft Stacy. I've got quite a few of them because they were, like I said, ahead of their time. Almost all of those are Stacy's. There might be a bevy shad or two. Yep, there's one bevy shad, which is just a smaller version of it, and the lip is a little different. So you'll see the lip there, a little bit different. but it's much shorter this way. Okay, I really don't throw them much. There is a time and a place on certain bodies of water, but this is a really cool box set. All right, now you can still get the Stacy's. They're reasonably priced. They're Lucky Craft. They're not price of the Megabass. So we're going to talk about this. I hate to say anyone's the best, okay, because there's really a hard way to, how do you determine that? But the Megabass 110, 110 plus 1, 110 plus 2 has kind of become the benchmark, if you will, okay? But focus on that. They're 25 bucks. It's a lot of money to pay for something if you don't have to. If there's some other options. And the thing is, we're also generally I'm throwing these on 10 pound. I might go up to 12 if I'm like on Clear Lake, but generally you want to try and stay down. This bait, I think looks pretty good, right? Pretty similar. That is a Sense Provoke 106, much less expensive. This is their DD, so it's going to kind of run in between. You'll see the lip isn't too big on there, but these are very, very effective, and I really am a fan of 6 Sense because I think they make great products at a very fair price, especially when you compare them to some of the others. Okay, and I'll link all this stuff down in the description so you don't have to remember exactly. But here's another one that I really like. Matte type finish, and that is the Berkley Stunna. This is called the 112 plus 1. Okay, again, similar sizes. The sounds are a little different. Again, I'm not going to say one's better than the other. Quite honestly, I think you could fish any one of these and catch fish on it. Now, in the beginning, I said that this was scoping before scoping, right? Okay, now if you have scope, you can kind of see where the fish are depth-wise, and you can pick how deep you want it to run. Typically on a rip bait, the fish are going to feed up, so we want to keep it just above them. You'll see that's going to be a deeper runner. Same thing here, okay, but we're still not talking too deep. It's probably 6 to 8 foot. The 110, I believe, let's see if it says here, I think that's somewhere around the 3 to 4 foot depth. But anyway, jerk baits were always meant as a search bait, right? We're kind of casting them out, working them, and moving, covering water. So we were scoping before there was scope. Catching those suspended fish, which we always thought were so hard to catch. You know, I can think back to an old tournament partner of mine, Mike, loved to turn around and throw the rip bait out in the middle of the pocket rather than towards the bank. And man, I tell you, Mike had caught some giant fish doing that, scoping before there was scope, right? All right, let's cover another one. And this is a big springtime bait here. And actually, you can throw it year-round. That's a Lucky Craft Pointer, 128. I believe it's the 128. This, Gary Dobbins used to throw the heck out of that thing. Another great jerk bait, okay? As we move into winter, cadences will change with this. Right now, you can be pretty aggressive at it. Jerk, jerk, pause. Jerk, 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 pause. Jerk, pause. But the pause doesn't have to be very long. Just change the direction, stop it in their face, whatever, and then you're going again. You can cover some water. This is a great way to find fish if you don't have graphs, if you're walking the bank. Jerk baits can be a great bait to throw from walking the bank. And there are some that will float up, right? Some of the older ones float up. So you can fish them from the bank and let them float up as they near the bank and not have to worry about getting snagged. All right. Jerk baits can be great. It's something I need to fish more. I've had some great days on jerkbaits, and quite honestly, I just don't fish them enough. With Livescope now, it's something that needs to be on the deck at all times, because this can be a great way to catch those fish. You see one, pick up the jerkbait, chuck it out there, and bring it back. Now, as I said, I'm going to be ordering specific rods for this. For most of these, 6'10" to 7 foot, medium light to medium, depending on the company, but you definitely want a moderate action so the rod bends deeper into the blank, so that that bend comes further down into the midsection rather than it all be at the tip. Okay, that's going to help us keep that fish pinned on a treble hook bait. Hard baits give the fish leverage. Treble hooks, the fish can twist around and all that kind of stuff. Now, as far as hooks, changing hooks out, all of these I will fish out of the box, okay? That said, when I replace them, I only use one, and it's the Gamakatsu G Finesse, I believe it's called, treble hook, okay? That's just me. I like those hooks. I'll link them in the description. I just don't have a need to try any other stuff. I'm not quite to Matt and his OCD with the hooks and weighing them all perfectly and all that. Those hooks are going to be pretty close, okay? The Megabass Vision 110, the Berkley Stunna, which I believe has the fusion hook. These are all really sharp, okay? But they are smaller hooks with very fine points, and they will dull, so just keep that in mind when you're fishing jerk baits. You need to change the hooks out occasionally, and you don't need to buy a Megabass, okay? If you can, you want to, by all means, just be forewarned. It gets addicting, and with 25 bucks a bait, put a dent in your pocketbook. All right, Sean the Average Angler. If you got a jerkbait specific rod, drop it down below. Let people know what you're using. I'm going to use the Irod. There's also an Irod Gen 3. That's a 6'10", 2-power jerkbait rod. That's another great option in the $150 price point. I like the Quercus because I like the cork handle, and they're 50 bucks more, okay? That's my choice. I'll probably have both, to be honest with you, because we all know you need more than one. All right. Thanks for watching. Sean the Average Angler. Like, subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.